Good morning, everyone. I'm just here seeing that everybody is joining us right now. So this is Vanessa. Thank you all for being here. Welcome to our first webinar from the Cork Smart Gateway. The Cork Smart Gateway, it's an initiative from Cork City Council, Cork County Council, UCC, CIT through the Nimbus Research Centre and Tyndall National Institute. We've organized a webinar series, and this is our first webinar on different type of technologies and how they are implemented in different type of businesses, in local authorities projects. And in this occasion, we're going to be focusing on the use of AI and its adoption in businesses. In the upcoming months, we're also going to prepare other webinars on sensors, on 5G, so stay tuned for what's coming through our newsletters, to our Twitter accounts as well. And I'm just going to give you the floor here to Dr. Longpham, who's going to be moderating the webinar and introducing our speakers. Thank you all for being here, and hopefully you will be enjoying the webinar.
Thank you, Vanessa, and welcome everyone. It's great to see and to welcome you joining us this very fine morning. And we have quite a number of speakers that we would like to hear. Interesting story about AI and what's happening, especially what's happening here in Cork for us. So I hope that we would have quite interactive sessions after this. So what we would do is actually that we would go with the presentation of the speakers. And then we would have the last 30 minutes for Q&A that I would be asking the question on behalf of you. So I just briefly, we have 4 speakers. We have Professor Barry O'Sullivan, we have Ronan Murphy, we have Connor Lynch, and we have Vanessa Tierney from, and this morning she would be also joined with her colleagues Cleona Lawton as well. So let's start with me introducing Professor Barry O'Sullivan. So he's going to share with us the presentations towards the trustworthy artificial intelligence. And the presentation will focus on the upcoming EU regulations on AI, and this was described in the European Commission's recent white papers on AI. And Professor Barry is not a stranger to us all. He's a award-winning academic working in the fields of AI, constraint programming, operation research, ethics, and public policies. He contributes to various global Track 2 diplomacy efforts, and he is a graduate of the University of Limerick and our very own University College Cork. He also holds the position of Director, Insight Centers for Data Analytics in UCC, and he is also the SFI, the Director of SFI Centers for Research Training in AI. He is the past president of the European AI Association, counselors of Triple AI, and an international expert actually, and especially he's the vice chair of the high-level working group, high-level expert working group of the European Commission in AI. So the floor is yours, Professor Barry, and hopefully that we would have a question coming up for you as well.
Thanks very much, Mel. Thank you. And thanks for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm going to talk about trustworthy AI because I think one of the things that's coming down the tracks is a new GDPR-like regulation in AI, and I think it's important that people are aware of it. There's also some funding opportunities for people, particularly for SMEs who want to get involved in this, so I'll talk a little bit about those. I've got 10 minutes, so without further ado, I'll get started. This month is actually the 70th anniversary of Alan Turing's famous paper on the Turing test, or
Professor Barry, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I'm interrupting, but you're showing maybe a paper that you were reading. So if you could switch to the presentation actually, because I think that you might have two screens.
Oh, okay, 1 second. Let me just see. Share screen.
Thank you.
Can you see it now?
There we go. Perfect.
Okay, very good. Okay, so yeah, so I want to talk about the work on trustworthy AI we'll be doing for the European Commission. So it's the 70th. So this year is the 70th anniversary of the publication of Alan Turing's famous paper on the Turing test, the imitation game.
I'm sorry, it's back to the...
No, it's okay, it's okay. So there's some papers on the slides.
Oh, okay. So that...
Yeah, so it's also the 65th anniversary of the invention of the term artificial intelligence, which was a term coined at the Dartmouth conference by John McCarthy and others. So it's an interesting year to be talking about AI. And of course, one of the reasons we're talking about AI these days is because of the success of deep learning advocated by Jan LeCun, Jeff Hinton, and Yoshi Bengio, who won essentially the Nobel Prize for AI in 2018. Gartner now has a hype cycle for AI, and of course there's nothing more hyped than a Gartner hype cycle, but there's a lot of commercial interest in the field, there's a lot going on. Of course there's a lot of noise also, so one has to be careful about the term artificial intelligence and what it means, and it's significantly less dramatic than you might read about in the newspapers. But certainly we see AI absolutely everywhere now. Everything from, we're all used to seeing successes in game playing, successes in retail, a lot of talk about the self-driving car. Lots of human level intelligence tasks are being dominated by AI systems. But of course, there's lots of issues as well, things like bias. We're concerned about how trained AI is emphasizing human level biases. Of course, we're concerned about attacks on AI systems and their robustness. So, for example, machine learning systems are very susceptible to adversarial examples. And most companies, in fact, who build machine learning systems don't verify their robustness with respect to adversarial examples. This is a famous example where a commercial self-driving car was fooled into thinking that stop signs were 45-mile-an-hour speed limits with very, very high confidence. Another form of robustness attack, of course, is data poisoning. So we see this all the time on things like Amazon and so on, where fake reviews are added to exploit the recommender system. You might have noticed that that YouTube no longer recommends movies for certain types of content, and this again is a consequence of data poisoning attacks. And of course, AI has been used to create all sorts of disinformation, and there are deep fakes now that are really convincing. This is an example of a piece of work where a talking head in a video can essentially be regenerated to say effectively anything one wants it to say, and so kind of scary stuff. And of course, AI is now becoming commonplace in the military. So things like lethal autonomous weapons, all sorts of cyber attacks, and lots of people in the military are regarding the space as a demonstration that the military people are effectively in an AI arms race. Some governments have established, in fact, specific cross-government committees on artificial intelligence. So at a European level, in December of 2018, the European Commission published a coordinated plan on AI that set out a vision for European AI that should be trustworthy and human-centric. As a consequence of the coordinated plan, the Commission established a high-level expert group for AI, and this was to do three things. Create a community through the AI Alliance, which is now about 5,000 people across Europe. Everybody on this call is free to join if they wish. Just Google European AI Alliance and you can join and you can contribute to the discussions, blog posts and so on. We were to advise the Commission on opportunities and challenges with respect to AI, and propose a draft set of ethics guidelines. The group was chaired by Pekka Lepitala, the former CEO of, the former president of Nokia, and I act as vice chair. The remainder of the people came from industry, so people like companies like Siemens, SAP, BMW, academics, legal experts, and so on. Two of the biggest pieces of work were the ethics guidelines, which we published in April of last year, and the policy and investment recommendations that we published in June. And I just want to focus on the ethics guidelines for a moment, in fact, for the rest of the talk. So basically, the ethics guidelines set out a definition of what trustworthy AI would look like. And essentially, it needed to satisfy three high-level principles. It needed to be lawful, ethical, and robust. And these might sound obvious, but it's actually quite difficult to ensure that AI systems are robust. And sometimes it's quite difficult to ensure that they are lawful because of how they can impact a variety of issues. We developed 7 key requirements, which I'm just going to flash in front of you for a moment. So AI systems should protect human agency, and they should be subject to human oversight. They should be robust and safe. And by robust here, I mean technically robust, but also later on you'll see they should protect societal and environmental well-being. Obviously, they should be subject to good data privacy and good data governance. They should be transparent, accountable, and so on. For those people who speak fluent GDPR, in the context of personal data, these have a natural analog in the GDPR world. But the ethics guidelines for trustworthy AI are much more general because they don't just relate to personal data. What we've done at Insight for the Commission is we've produced an assessment tool for trustworthy AI, which you're more than welcome to go and explore. It's essentially a version of the assessment list for trustworthy AI that has been developed in collaboration with the Commission, so you're free to use that. It will be released in an open source form in the next few weeks, because this is actually linked to the white paper legislation that's coming down the track. So all of that work that we did on the high-level expert group sort of fed into a statement that the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen made last November, which was when she took office, she said that in the first 100 days she would put forward some legislation to sort of back up this European vision, this coordinated plan for AI. And of course, what she did in February was publish the white paper on artificial intelligence. And I'm sure many of you were involved in the consultation that took place from February to June, where the views of civil society, academics, SMEs, business people were sought in order to frame the regulation that's currently being developed. And essentially the white paper envisaged two things: promoting an ecosystem of excellence and an ecosystem of trust. And again, I want to talk a little bit about the ecosystem of trust. So essentially the ecosystem of trust essentially sets out a vision for creating an environment in Europe where AI is demonstrably and verifiably trustworthy. And of course, that means it satisfies these 7 key requirements. And where the current regulation is going, and I think if you're working in AI, you do need to get involved in this discussion because it will directly affect you. So essentially what the white paper vision for the regulation is saying is that AI applications will be divided into those that are high risk and low risk. And so this is not a classification I'm particularly impressed with, but nonetheless, this is what's currently in the document and what is the subject of a significant amount of discussion and lobbying in Brussels at the moment. So for example, whether something is high risk or low risk will be dependent on the sector in which it's in and also the use to which it is put. So for example, if you're working in healthcare or you're working in security, that might be considered a high risk sector or a potentially high risk sector. And then depending on how the AI system is used, and depending on the kind of risks that are created, your system is labeled either as high or low risk. Now, there are some particular cases where those applications will always be considered high risk, and those are in the red box in the bottom. So at the moment, there are high risk exceptional cases, so anything that impacts human recruitment intrusive surveillance, biometrics, impacts workers' rights. So you can see that the Charter of Fundamental Rights is really having a significant sort of impact on this classification. There will be it's envisaged that there will be particular requirements, so that training data will be documented and recorded. There will be record keeping on experimental protocols, on testing, validation, these sorts of things, and a variety of other requirements. And so essentially what the Commission is currently envisaging is that those low-risk applications are simply going to be a sort of voluntary labelling system, that one would say that the system is compliant with the trustworthy assessment list, for example, that we've produced. For high-risk applications, it's likely that there will be ex-ante conformity assessment and market surveillance. And of course, this could be very burdensome for SMEs, because it essentially means that one has to bring the AI system to some conformity assessment facility or resource. Of course, on the other side, there is going to be a huge opportunity for companies in the whole space of trustworthy AI validation and conformity assessment. And I'm already aware of a number of companies that are trying to develop offerings in those areas. And of course, the first to market there is going to have a significant benefit. For those of you who are interested, I think the whole trustworthy AI space is one that's been very significantly backed by the Commission. So if you're interested, there are projects that we're involved in. In fact, you can contact Long. She's the community manager for AI for EU. The Commission in the last 2 years has put about 70 million euros into new investments on trustworthy AI. About 10 million of this is not allocated and is going to be made available through cascade funding to SMEs. So if you're an SME and you want to get involved in trustworthy AI, there's a pot of money out there waiting for you. The other thing I'd point to is that there's a new public-private partnership on AI, data, and robotics. It's really important that you're involved in that if you're working in the private sector, because this is going to be the biggest thing that the Commission will fund in AI in the next 10 years. It's probably going to be something, it's going to carry an investment of about 2 or 3 billion euros. So if you're involved, if you're interested in that, please let me know. I can introduce you to the people who are involved. Just last month, we released the Strategic Research Innovation Employment Agenda associated with that PPP. So thank you very much for listening, and I'll be very happy to answer questions either by email, on Twitter here, or at 10 o'clock when we have the Q&A. Thanks very much, Vanessa. Thanks very much, Lon. Back to you.
Thank you, Professor Barry. And without further ado, I would like to invite our next speaker, is Ronan Murphy. And he's going to share with us on the innovative data governance, control, and oversight. And the main presentation is going to introduce the problematic of unstructured data management and how the startup his company get visibility through applying AI and machine learning at the scale that fits it. And Ronan is Chief Executive of GetVisibility.com. He is internationally recognized as an expert in the areas of corporate and enterprise security and development of cyber defense programs and business operation protection for large enterprises. He founded the startup GetVisibility back in 2018, and the company focused on data classification using AI. And GetVisibility has recently secured a funding of 1.25 million in fundraising round led by Shore Valley Ventures. So the floor is yours, Ronan.
Thank you, and delighted to be on here with you guys today. So I'm going to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence and its adoption in business. And at the moment, when we look at the world, every organization is trying to reduce cost, they're trying to drive efficiencies, and they're trying to drive operational excellence across organizations. And they're looking at digital transformation, they're looking at cloud-first strategies, they're looking at adoption of artificial intelligence. So it's a very exciting sector, and Europe's digital economy is set to be worth 550 billion by 2025. So I see the benefits for Ireland as being a champion in this space are pretty considerable. We started Get Visibility with my co-founder Mark Brosnan over the last 2 years, and the purpose of Get Visibility is to help organizations deal with their unstructured data. Now, before I talk about unstructured data, I'm going to take a minute just to talk about cybersecurity. We have a very well-established cybersecurity cluster in Cork, and indeed in Ireland. We're very much thought leaders in the space. But this sector has a lot of problems. As we all know, the attack surface is growing. This has been amplified by people working from home and the pandemic. The attack surface is growing in terms of how people utilize technology and how they consume data from mobile devices, from working from home. It's estimated that there's over 2 million job vacancies in the sector. So there's tremendous pressure on companies to find skills that are required to provide adequate security. From a top-down regulatory perspective, it is becoming increasingly difficult. We're all very familiar with GDPR, but also from a regulatory perspective in specific industry verticals, they have a lot of regulation which is focusing on data and how companies handle data and how they classify data. A recent one that was introduced in North America was for the US Department of Defense supply chain. So if you are one of the 350,000 contractors who supply the Pentagon or the DoD in North America, you have to be able to demonstrate compliance across many different areas of security now. So it's no longer just California Consumer Privacy Act or GDPR. There's many specific regulatory mandates putting ferocious pressure on organizations. As Barry demonstrated in his presentation, cyber attacks are becoming much more sophisticated. You're looking at deep fakes, you're looking at well-organized, well-orchestrated attacks by very sophisticated criminal organizations, and they're getting better and they're getting more successful, and they always flourish in times where there's global turbulence, such as a pandemic. And also the cost is rising. I had a call last night with a couple of different thought leaders in the sector, and the sheer volume of high-level ransomware attacks that are wreaking havoc across multinationals and mid-sized companies at present is pretty scary. So there's tremendous opportunity, but there's also tremendous challenges in the sector. So where we come in and Get Visibility is we help deal with the challenge of unstructured data. And unstructured data is all of the data that sits outside of your database. It's your emails, it's your Word documents, your Excel documents, your PDF documents, and it's data which contains a lot of very valuable information for an organization, and also information that is important in terms of regulatory mandates. So for example, should your organization be regulated under PCI or HIPAA or GDPR, you often find that data is flowing around the organization in an unstructured format. So the problem, the nature and the volume of unstructured data is changing drastically. Again, that is being amplified by COVID, and it's being amplified by people working from home and accessing your most valuable asset in terms of your data remotely and from, in many cases, home devices. And being able to understand where that data goes, how it's handled, and who does what with that data is a huge problem. It's a huge problem across many different areas, both from a security perspective, a regulatory perspective, an IP leakage perspective. So our mission is to help companies worldwide to understand, manage and leverage value out of that data in real time. And it's quite a complex problem. You look at it just because of the nature and the volume of data that companies handle, irrespective of if you're a small a 5-person company or you're a large global platform, the amount of data which you're handling in an unstructured environment is simply vast. So companies need to find that data, and they need to know where that data is. That might sound pretty logical, but in fact it's not, because data sits on your iPhone, your iPad, your laptop, in the cloud, in SharePoint, in Dropbox, in OneDrive, in many different locations throughout an environment. So discovering it can be very, very difficult. But not only discovering, but actually understanding what's in it. Again, what data contains IP, what data is legacy data that should be deleted, which data is regulated under a specific mandate. And also then, as companies try and adapt to the new normal, which is this post-COVID type workforce, as they want to consume cloud services from Amazon or Azure or IBM, the ability to effectively move data into that cloud and protect it and understand it and see who's got access to it is a really big challenge. And that's amplified by the fact that most of the data that's now being created is unstructured. So this is a well-used graphic on the right-hand side, which is the iceberg. But 20% of the data is the data you know, and that's the data, again, in your database, in SAP, in Oracle, in Salesforce, or in your CRM system. But 80% of it sits under the water, and that data is in the unstructured world. And more we're seeing that companies are extracting data from a structured environment into an unstructured world, and again, that's the problem. So our view is that in order for organizations to effectively protect that data, to effectively demonstrate that they're adhering to the various compliance mandates that govern them, to be able to demonstrate that they're protecting the risks around their intellectual property and their competitive advantage, they have to have visibility of that data. Because irrespective of the investment they make in firewalls or antivirus or patching or identity access management systems, if you do not understand your data, you simply cannot protect it. So we have built a very sophisticated platform. It's called Get Visibility. It does what it says on the tin. It helps organizations to automatically discover all of the data that sits across the enterprise and to accurately classify that data. There's many benefits to this, from cloud adoption to eliminating the insider threat, which is often referred to as the human being who sits in the middle of the hackers and the organization and the mandates which govern how companies control their data. And we make it very effective and realistic to understand that data, to discover that data, and to accurately classify that data. And once you've done that, it becomes very feasible to initiate many different mandates across your data. Some of the interesting stuff, Barry touched on this a moment ago, but we're seeing some really big changes happening globally. We practice a lot in the Middle East. We've built our AI in such a way that we can deal very effectively with challenging languages such as Arabic. But we've also recently seen the Schrems II ruling on Privacy Shield, which many pundits feel that the North America and the US will have to adopt a GDPR type stance in order for data to effectively travel from Europe to the US, and that's been validated by some of the courts in the US that have looked at the Snowden rulings as well, and also. You're seeing GDPR, you're seeing CMMC, you're seeing HIPAA, you're seeing the CCPA. So the problem and the regulatory aspect is getting more punitive. And we use machine learning and natural language processing, and we use both supervised and unsupervised learning in terms of the training of our models and the classification of data, where we train the models on specific types of data. We compress them into a high dimensional space, and then we run it across a network, which allows organizations to very quickly and accurately get very high degrees of data classification accuracy across their unstructured data. So it's very, very powerful. Here's our interface. Our interface shows the files that are found. It shows the files that are classified. It shows the files that are duplicates within an organization. It shows confidence in terms of machine learning. And it allows the organization, again, to make some very important decisions. How compliant are they from a specific mandate, such as GDPR? How many files in their organization have risk associated with them? And that risk could come in many formats. It could be duplicates, it could be access, it could be encryption. There's many different use cases we see. But one of the really innovative advancements we've also made is that we've rolled out an endpoint agent. And this gets really interesting because we've rolled it out across email, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, many different end user platforms. And what this does is it also allows, for the first time in this type of platform, it allows the users to train the model. So that sounds crazy when you think about it, but it's actually really important, because if you go to a large organization and they have many different stakeholders who are involved in this, they may have their own idiosyncrasies on how they want specific data classified in order to train the model. So by allowing users to train the model and by building in quality assessment and sanity checking at scale, we allow an organization to have their own users train the model, but also when we get to a confidence level in terms of the training, for the model to also make recommendations to the end user on what that data is in terms of PCI, HIPAA, GDPR, CMMC, and the accuracy that's associated with that. As the models get better, you can enforce those rules and you can enable very effective and powerful data loss prevention and other type characteristics across the organization. So that becomes really, really powerful. To give you an idea of the output you get from running AI across...
1 minute, Ronan.
Thank you, we're nearly there. When you run Get Visibility across an organization, the granularity is very, very powerful. You get to very quickly understand what type of data you have across HR, finance, legal, technical, business, out of the box. And then because the users are also training, you get the ability to fine tune and hone that model. The automation at scale, the quality checking at scale, and the use case output from this is incredibly powerful for organizations to demonstrate compliance and to make a far more robust security profile for the business. And also quality checking on users as they work remotely in a post-COVID workforce. So, and that's how we've used AI and utilized AI to help many organizations in Ireland, in the Middle East, in Asia, and in North America to deal with the unstructured data problem. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ronan. And I think that we have quite a bit of content there, and we will come back to you with some questions for sure. All right. So now we are coming to Conor Lynch, and he's going to present to us on the AI, the real world application. Dr. Conor Lynch is a senior research engineer at the Nimbus Research Centers within the CIT. He has interests in including the system modeling, machine learning, data analytics, and AI, of course, to optimally integrate and allocate the renewable energy resources. And he is the recipient of the IRIS Research Council for Science, Engineering and Technology Enterprise Partnership PhD Scholarship. And he concluded his PhD degree in the model predictive control, focusing on Kalman filtering optimization techniques to optimally schedule the renewable energy contribution within the microgrids in the process. Energy and Transportation Department at CIT in 2016. He's now leading the AI, machine learning and data analysis team within Nimbus. So the floor is yours, Conor. Unmute yourself, please. You're on mute.
Okay, thank you for that kind introduction, and a victim of the mute button once again. So the talk today will be just to cover some real-world applications in terms of some of the research topics that we're undertaking within the Nimbus Research Centre. And for those who are not familiar, I suppose, with Nimbus and where we're located, we're basically attached to the CIT college, and we're actually based on the campus itself, out in Bishopstown. So in terms of AI, Barry mentioned some of the forefathers in this area. So Andrew Nee is one of the other forefathers in this area, and he's been quoted as saying, just as electricity transformed almost everything 100 years ago today, I actually have a hard time thinking of an industry that I don't think AI will transform the next several years. So he's currently, he was a scientist at the BADU and co-founder of the Corsia, and he's currently a professor at the University of Stanford. So I think that statement in itself holds true, and to, I suppose, protect ourselves against the future in a business environment, I think AI and how we manage AI is something that we have to look at in detail, and that's certainly we have to give some consideration to some of the points that Professor Barry made. So in terms of the business environment, AI and machine learning can kind of creep into a number of different areas in individual businesses. So AI itself, customer intelligence is one area that's been focused on. So it's to enable better decision making for retailers who are increasingly using big data. So like you have the shops like Tesco's, Aldi, Dunn's, they all use big data to kind of get an insight into how people shop, how customers shop, what products they're using. And there's big, I suppose, advances being made in terms of like product recommenders, in terms of like advising people what to buy next, what vouchers to give them, what discounts to give them. So overall, it's designed to improve user experience and loyalty through the optimum channels. And the use of AI, machine learning, and augmented reality can help bridge the gap between online and offline shopping, especially, I suppose, in the times that we're in with COVID and what's likely to, I suppose, the overall shopping experience is going to be like for the next year at least. And as I said, the big data in its essence in terms of consumer shopping experiences is about anticipating consumer needs and identifying the right markets where businesses can grow and identify cost savings as a whole. So AI can also, I suppose, enhance or augment the operations side of things, so as to optimize decision making in today's fast-paced digital world. And it can also be used to leverage, I suppose, and augment how day-to-day business processes are being done, and to enable them to operate in a much faster and smarter way. So AI can be embedded into several software applications, from spend analysis, contract management, and strategic sourcing. So the next few slides, I suppose, is going to be an overview of some of the more applied projects that we've taken on in-house. So PCS, or Predictive Control Systems, is one of the companies that we've done an awful lot of work for over the past number of years. And one of the algorithms that we focused on for them was the development of a genetic algorithm, or bespoke genetic algorithm. The idea of a genetic algorithm has been around since the 1960s. And this type of genetic algorithm is based in algorithm that focuses on or I suppose mimics the natural selection in terms of like how the human race evolves from one generation to the next. And the idea is that as we move from one generation to the next, we get we, I suppose, try and identify the more prominent or the most, I suppose, optimal parameters and genes to advance the next generation. And this algorithm was developed through PCS, as I said, and this was for a project that was for a water utility company in Ireland. So without going to mention any names, I'm sure you can draw your own conclusions. And this particular project was done to optimize the pumping schedules for various water tanks around Cork City. So the idea was that develop an algorithm in order to reduce the overall cost of pumping. It was the one, I suppose, focus for us to concentrate on. And the other one was to augment the overall water supply within Cork City by maintaining tank levels to a high level as possible. So this schematic really is just an overall overview. So we have the natural water tank level here. We have a lower buffer level and an upper buffer level in terms of like stopping overflow of the tank. And then we don't want to go to a level too low, whereby we risk our ability to supply the people of Cork. So this is the area here that we had to operate within. So we had to, these are essentially the constraints of the actual problem itself. So we did this project for about 2 years with the water utility company, and we actually, it was quite a successful project in reducing the overall costs of pumping by just over 20%. So these are some of the I suppose the user interface slides from that particular project. So the top one there, you can just see the tracking of the actual water level. The middle graphic there is the actual pump schedules as they're delivered to the operator. So basically one being on, zero being off, so operating on a binary system. And the last one then is to monitor the pump states so that to see or validate which pumps are being turned on or off. Another particular project or applied project that we were involved in was the focus on the real-time pricing market. So I'm not sure how much you know about this, but the overall pricing structure in Ireland is migrating slowly but surely to an hourly pricing regime. So by and large, most customers now would operate like a day-night time tariff or standard time of use tariff. But coming down the tracks really at a domestic level in the next number of years would be the ability to have be charged on your electricity usage on an hourly basis. So essentially each hour of every day will have its own unique price, and that these prices will be provided to end users in advance. So traditionally speaking, before October 2018, the market or the pricing market in Ireland that existed was the single electricity market, or the SIM market for short. And in that particular market, end users were given predictions or estimated what the pricing would be for those individual hours, and they didn't actually get I suppose true confirmation on what those charges would be until 4 days after the individual day of interest. So at that point in time, we did a lot of research and we developed some prediction algorithms in the interest of predicting those prices and getting a more concrete base on what those actual prices will be to enable, I suppose, especially domestic or commercial-based consumers to migrate towards a real-time pricing market, and then that would better enable them or facilitate them really in terms of optimizing, especially their big energy using assets a day ahead. So we've actually continued that work since October 2018, since that market has migrated to the ISIM market, which is the integrated single electricity market. And if you go onto the EirGrid dashboard or even the CMO dashboard, you can actually get a daily update on what those actual prices will be. So as I said, the work that we focused on in the last number of years was both extending or the actual prediction time horizon for those electricity prices to get a prediction time horizons up to 48 hours ahead. And by knowing the prices like up to 48 hours ahead, it'll actually better or facilitate us to manage the energy assets that are basically using a lot of energy within the different commercial sectors. So this is just a schematic, I suppose, in terms of like displaying on the SIM market our ability to actually forecast those prices a day ahead. And as you can see, the EA prices, which is the third one there on the I'm not sure if you can see my cursor or not, would have been the prices that would have been released, or the price estimates that would have been released by EirGrid. And then the KSVM SVR model, which is the K-means support vector machine support vector regression model that was developed by ourselves. You can see that this tracks the EirGrid prices quite well, given that we're actually releasing these prices 24 hours in advance of what EirGrid would have been doing at the time. And again, these are just some GUI graphics of the prediction outputs for that time as well. So you can see ROI would have been the Republic of Ireland prices. Then you have some of the data inputs then that were being fed into that predictor model. So you've aggregated wind, and you've the actual daily load that was also being considered at the time to provide those forecasts. We've done a lot of work as well with Ambisense. So they're a company that do a lot of work around environmental monitoring. So a lot of so looking at a lot of data in terms of like various sensors. So a lot of the work that we would have done from an AI point of view would have been delving down into these data sets and looking for and trying to detect anomalies before they would happen. So essentially it's going down the road of anomaly detection and preventive maintenance. So again, this is something that like your own individual business needs may require, or indeed we can actually even look at for you. So another project that we would have done in-house would have been a project called InBlocks. So this is essentially almost like electrical circuitry, but it's like Lego for adults, as I would describe it. So essentially it's a fast way of enabling various electrical components to be compiled in a relatively short space of time. So one of the projects that we're looking at the moment is about using this technology to develop low-cost sensors, such as parameters for the PV generating sector. And so the primary motivation behind this was about developing sensors at a low cost, enabling to be deployable on a larger scale, because currently the cost of parameters somewhere in the region between 5,000 and 10,000 euro per parameter. And then you have higher maintenance operation costs as well associated with that. So it's about reducing the cost of high quality sensors in order to get, I suppose, roll out these on a larger scale and to get a better granularity of the data that's been collected. So
1 minute, Connor.
Thank you. So rather than collecting data, let's say for in 25 kilometer nodal grids, which can operate on a much smaller grid or a much tighter grid to get a better reflection of what's happening in the real world. So the idea is that you have better week, day, month ahead prediction time horizons of solar and temperature data. And this should enable, I suppose, for us to develop out essentially a real-time map of solar radiance and temperature in Ireland. And this should go towards, I suppose, facilitating the contribution that PV makes to the overall energy network in Ireland. So at this point in time, just like thank you for your time. And again, if anybody wants to get involved in some of the real world applications or projects that we're doing within Nimbus, feel free to contact myself or indeed any other member of Nimbus. And also, as you may or may not be aware, there's also some EI grants that are available as well to, I suppose, allow you to have a no-cost way of dipping your toe into some of the work that we do here. So, shameful plug at the end there, I admit, but and happy to take any questions at the end.
Thank you, Connor. And just a reminder to you all, please use the function Q&A so that we can have captured your questions, and we will direct it to those speakers that will be answering your questions. And we will welcome as many questions as we could. We may not be able to accommodate all of the questions today, but I'm sure that the speaker would be happy to take on the question via emails or other medium as well. So last but not least, I would like to welcome our last speaker, and she's representing the companies that has been quite online recently, especially those who follow Cork counties and Cork city development. So Vanessa Tierney from Abudu, and she's going to talk about the skill mapping and matching. It will be kind of like learning on how the new technologies can empower local governments, such as our very own Cork County here, to support the sustainable of the low carbon economic recovery from the pandemic, as well as the new job creation and inclusion through the real-time access to skill data intelligence. So the floor is yours, Vanessa.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me here today. I'm delighted to be here, and I'm being joined by Cliona, my colleague, our Business Development Manager for Government, so she'll be covering one of the key, most important slides. So really, yeah, delighted to be here because we're actually actively working with Cork right now. Abudu, to share sort of our company purpose and mission and what we're all about. We want to, in this new world of work, be able to capture the skills of people, because as companies start embracing hybrid models or fully remote models, it will now be a case of looking globally or nationally or even regionally for talent. And traditionally, up until this point in time, people have relied very much on CVs or social networks, whereas we're in an environment now, or in a world where people are constantly upskilling, or certainly for those that have been impacted negatively by COVID-19, reskilling is critical to move from industries that are in decline to industries that are thriving. And Abodu's mission is essentially those people that need to be discovered or who want to map their skills can create a skills profile on our platform and be discovered. So really anyone who has connectivity has an opportunity to now work. And the impacts of that are obviously great, not only for people who are unemployed, but reversing migration and really investing in regional areas. So what is it that we actually do? So the description of Abodu is we're a mapping and matching technology platform. We launched this year Geognostics, which is the first dynamic skills data intelligence platform for local governments. So it's a mouthful, but basically what it does is it gives inward investment agencies and local government a real-time insight to the skills of the people, not just in region, but those that would move to the region or move back to the region. And one of the after effects of embracing remote is global workforce mobility will start to happen in the coming years as we find a vaccination and people really rethink about where they're living if they don't have to be in the office 5 days a week. And so through Geognostics, we're tracking people's skills and where they want to work, how much would they want to earn if they're outside of the cities. And this information is dynamically updated real time. And what it gives to governments is a really good insight to trends around skills, predictive skills, the skills gap. So we were very much focused on 3 problems when we were building the Geognostics platform. And really they are faced by most governments globally. High unemployment across every government right now is a core problem. Really key industries in decline, like we're facing retail, hospitality, tourism, and we're going to have to look at solutions of how do we transfer those skills. But the first thing we need to do is map the skills. What do they have right now? And what can we predict that they will need to find employment? And looking forward at job opportunities, it will be a mix. It won't just be this full-time, present job in an office. More and more people will move into gig working, project working, leveraging their skills as they adopt them. And then the other challenge for governments pre-COVID, but it still remains a big challenge, is migration. One of the greatest assets that a local government or a region has is their people and their skills, and knowing that beyond what is currently available, which is census data or ad hoc research where the data is redundant within a matter of months, is really critical to rebooting economies. So the solution was very simple. We would create a data intelligence platform that would be powered by the data of Abodu. So Abodu is a very welcoming skills platform where people can go in and create their skills profile. They're confidential, they remain anonymous through the entire mapping process. And if they do want to be discovered, they're in control of when they're discovered. The reason we built the algorithm that way was really to enable the broadening of talent pools, reduce unconscious bias, which does exist in sourcing, and increase greater diversity and inclusion from the first point of contact with people. All of this data then is anonymized and fed into a dynamic map of the region. And this information allows the government, and we can move on to the innovation element, it allows the government to actually understand data clustering. So giving a live example, in Cork right now, there are skills clusters across the region that are now being discovered because of this mapping exercise that we're doing. And what that can do is not only see if it's beside a digital hub, whereby that digital hub could now be branded for that skill, but it also shows the demand for other digital hubs, housing, and it helps companies. I was on a call with the US a few weeks ago around the skills of Cork. And really, they're very open now to this idea of hybrid working, but they do like clustered skills, because what it means is they can leverage a digital hub, fly in, have a meeting for a week, or have a manager that sees everyone once a week. So they have that company culture, but then everyone has the flexibility to work from home. So that data that we're capturing is actually around not just skills, but where do people want to work? How much do they want to earn if they have greater flexibility, and all the fundamental points that enables a company to make a decision as to whether they should invest in a region, whether they intend to land or not. From a technology perspective, we're doing a lot of work around the skills mapping. So we're capturing rich harvested data, and this gives us the ability to do deep learning, not just on skills, but the geography mapping as well. So our skill search will utilize the proliferation of machine learning and artificial intelligence to enhance the skills clustering. So with predictive modeling, we can use multi-variety regression and supervised learning to help clustered skills based on stemming to reduce essentially, I guess, unemployment across regions and really drive new jobs into areas that perhaps were very hit before with unemployment. Furthermore, we're incorporating personality and cognitive tooling to not just map hard skills, but match and predict, soft skills, so we can see where someone is aligned. So whether they're coming from retail, but they demonstrate amazing customer service skills, we can predict opportunities in careers where they can excel. And obviously there's a lot of in-skill demands like cybersecurity, so assessing someone's aptitude and cognitive ability to learn and actually enable learning companies to connect with people. So the solution is very simple. We capture all of this data in terms of big data, smart working, earnings, and we've gone live with Cork now. So what's on the screen is actually the live map that is readily available to Cork Government, IDA, Enterprise Ireland, to really showcase the talent of Cork to drive more inward investment. So I'd love to hand over now to Cliona, who is our Government Business Development Manager, who talks about the value proposition for local government.
Hi everyone. Well, I suppose the way I usually would explain this to government is if you want to play chess and you want to be good at it, you have to know what your pieces are capable of and you have to know what their needs are. And that's kind of the way things have been going recently with strategizing and with COVID. You need to know the skills assets of a region, but you also need to know what their needs are in terms of, are they commuting? Are they spending too long on the road? Is there a lot of, CO2 emissions going out and different things going out into the air because of all the traffic? It's going to take up different areas as well, such as, are kids spending too long in childcare? Is the childcare too far away from home? So with the way this works is you're going to get everything on a skills map, just as you saw on the previous slide, but it's going to allow for more planning than just attracting foreign direct investment and just, matching people with jobs. It's going to be applicable to all different areas. So when I've been talking with councils, we've been getting different people involved. We've been getting people involved in terms of housing and regeneration, which is a really big area at the moment. As Vanessa mentioned, there's huge issues with, a lot of young people and a lot of graduates moving abroad for work. And what's happening there is the local community is breaking down. They don't have enough people for the football teams. They don't have enough, people coming in as young teachers in country schools and things like that. So they're going to be able to plan more effectively and strategize, not just for where the skills are, but for where the needs are, where people want to move home, move to more rural areas for more, affordable housing, where they need to plan better for schooling or for putting a digital hub, and where they're going to be able to attract foreign direct investment where they know that they have the skills in the region. So if they're trying to attract, for example, a computing company, and the computing company is saying, oh, look, we don't know about going into the city, we have a lot of city bases, they'll be able to turn around and say, well, for example, down in Skibbereen, we have this hub, and within a 20-kilometre radius, we have all of these people who are skilled and who have, for example, 6 years Java scripting experience, 7 years Python experience, whatever it is that they're looking for. So the benefits of it are that you'll be able to get all of this information on your geographical skills map. You'll be able to pull that information depending on what it is you're looking for. It's all going to be real time. So comparative to, say, census material, which is pretty much out of date, maybe a month after it's been published, this will all be real time, and it's going to be a lot more effective for planning throughout the year. You will also get, the matching opportunity for people. So again, a great option, as Vanessa already mentioned, with making it easier to avoid that kind of, unconscious bias in hiring people, is that while you'll see the skills and you'll see the experience, you won't see, for example, the person's age, their gender, where they're from, anything like that. So it's going to make it a lot easier to make things more fair and more even across the board. And a big thing for government at the moment is the GDPR compliance, because all of this information is being hosted on our site. It's all GDPR compliant, and they don't have to be concerned. Sorry?
1 minute.
Oh, no problem. So they don't have to be concerned about, you know, any of that information not being compliant or taking too much information from people. We make sure that it's all volunteered by people themselves, and they have the added benefit of knowing that they're going to be helping out their region and creating better opportunities for family and friends. And then as well, if they're looking for a job themselves, we will happily facilitate that matching process too. Vanessa, I will hand back to you, let you continue.
Thanks so much. So the market opportunity is big in terms of, like, this year alone, 23 billion globally was spent on business intelligence. So I know, as Ronan was mentioning, companies want to invest in the space, but governments should too. Our competitors in this space, I'll fast forward to competitors, do mapping, but it tends to be not dynamic. So that's the challenge. Our team is globally based. We embrace the remote model. We have for years. So we would welcome anyone to get in touch, whether it's in terms of data or indeed for your particular region, if you want us to help support. But we're already working with Cork, which is brilliant. And I guess in conclusion, as Barry is mentioning around using AI for skills, it is all about our skills profile. And there is an amazing opportunity to unlock the skills potential for people right now that need the support. Reverse migration, we've 500,000 amazing people around the world with lots of talent, some of which they'd move back with jobs, with remote jobs, or come back for regional opportunity careers now that it's a global opportunity. So we've a lot of exciting plans on AI. I certainly will be reaching out to Barry after this session today. His talk was wonderful, and we would welcome any inquiries or any questions now. And finally, our motto we've had for a few years, and now it's more relevant than anything. Life is a journey, not a commute, and it's great to see us all doing it. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Vanessa and Cliona. It's great to see Cork is featured in your presentations, and I very much personally already worked with Cork City Councils and County Councils a couple of years back. And it was an amazing approach. As I agree with you on that, is actually that you need to know where you are in order for you to get to where you want to go. And that would be, and then that would be actually some things that we need to kind of hold on to and make it as our practice. And I'm glad to see Cork County Councils embracing that. So congrats on that. So we have now completed with all of the presentation from our speakers.